Good morning. Welcome to this press conference of the President of the European Parliament, Roberta Metsola. President Metsola just attended the European Council. President, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you all. In the intervention I've just made in the European Council, I focused on three messages. First, on simplification. As I said yesterday, the vote on the sustainability omnibus showed that for a huge section of Parliament, this compromise simply did not go far enough, and that it would not have made things actually better, simpler or easier, and for some other members, any change was way too far. That's the situation where we are now, but I was clear that this is a Parliament that remains firmly committed to our simplification agenda. Majorities are always strongest from the centre out, because we believe that this is the way to move Europe forward. But if this is not possible, I know that this House will deliver, regardless, especially because the Prime Minister around the table were unanimous in saying that this needs to happen. So I gave them a timeline of what happens next, which means that we will vote in the next plenary session in Brussels, just a couple of weeks away from today. In this case, therefore, there is no time to lose. Members need to be reached out to, discussions need to take place, but I expect that the mandate from this Parliament will be deeper and that we will deliver. I was also asked to give an update on other files that matter to the heads of state and government. For example, negotiations with the Council on simplifying our common agriculture policy, that has already started. The urgent procedure to postpone the chemical products legislation, and the work that is progressing very swiftly on the defence readiness omnibus. They also welcomed, and this is good, that we really focus on when things work and when things move quickly and agreements can be made and majorities can be found, such as, for example, the European Defence Industry Programme over the finish line that we managed to take through, and that the Parliament asked the Council to speed up so that we will vote in November on this also in the plenary. I also wanted to spend some time of my discussion on housing, and this is with a specific agenda, because the European Parliament understands people's worries. All of us who ran for the European election last year were faced with concerns that people have in each and every country of ours on housing and accessibility, specifically to affordable ones. So for the first time ever, this is why we set up a special committee on affordable housing, and it's a momentum that we'll keep building on, waiting for also the strategic plans that come from the Commission, also on the basis of what Prime Ministers will decide today, because this is a critical issue for our people, and President Costa was extremely clear on that, and should be treated as such, because we know that if we don't adapt, Europe will lose out. And we cannot, and we will not lose out. My second message was on Ukraine. Parliament has, with a very large majority, voted to phase out Russian gas and energy. We welcome the adoption of the 19th package of sanctions. And we also say that making better use, we've said this for years, of Russian frozen assets remains critical. We need to explain why this matters, why we invest in defence, and why we stand with Ukraine, including in merit-based enlargement. And here I want to make one thing clear, that if we want to be ready for an enlarged European Union, we need to get serious about starting our own internal reforms. So the Parliament just voted yesterday on my colleague Sandro Gozzi's report on the matter, institutional consequences of EU enlargement negotiations, and my hope is that institutions and member states will see this as an invitation to have finally an honest discussion on the topic. My third message was about Gaza and the Middle East. The hostage release and the ceasefire deal is a moment of historic hope for Israel, for Gaza, and for a renewed course that keeps the path to self-determination and statehood alive, that can provide stability for the wider Middle East and the rest of the world. It is also a central focus of what I discussed with President Sisi earlier this morning in the Parliament. Now we must make sure that the peace plan is fully implemented. Europe must keep playing its part. We have not and will never stand idly, and as the biggest donor of humanitarian aid to Gaza, we must keep delivering at scale and with speed, while pushing to make sure that this peace plan holds. Because, and I ended with this line after what was a very long debate, peace is possible and Europe has a role to play. Otherwise, we risk being relegated to the sidelines. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Now we